I have the pleasure of hosting today this super sharp woman that I know that I got a pleasure of meeting to my good friend, Ricky James Labe. That's everybody that knows him well knows he's Rick James. And thank you for joining us today, Vedette, and Next in Line. Before I let you, kind of introduce yourself, I just want to remind everybody what we're here and the mission, right? The mission stays the same. Next in Line, it was founded to make sure that we pay it forward for leaders have a platform to pay it forward to the workforce community out there. So again, Vidette, thank you for, dedicating time, taking time out of your day and your week, because I know your schedule as a CIO is off the, you probably can't even see the holes in the calendar, right? So I know you're busy, right? And, your family and everything. So it means a lot that you take your time to do this for us. So thank you so much for that. So you don't mind, can you give me a little bit, like take me back who you are and what you're doing today, but how did it all start? I got to hear it from the beginning.
Cesar, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I've always enjoyed my conversations with you. And yes, thank you to Ricky for getting us connected. I know we've been trying to schedule. We're both so busy, but this is perfect timing for me. We're 3 weeks away from the holidays. I loved your topic. It was about paying it forward. And what better time of the year to pay it forward as we reflect on the past and think about next year, right?
Absolutely.
I'm Vidette Pires, CIO, technology leader. I've been in my track here for about 20 years, most recently at HairClub. We are HairClub for men and women, and we have hair loss solutions that help people live their best lives.
Beautiful.
As a senior technology leader, with 20 plus years, I've come from custom code development to cybersecurity to data analytics, now AI. Everything has changed and is constantly changing, but the one thing is always same is that technology is absolute fun. So
I love it.
So thanks for having me.
Thank you for that introduction. So I got to ask you a couple of questions. I love digging in. I love asking the CIOs. One of the questions right away is like, first, where'd you go to school? Like, where'd you grow up, or where'd you go to school? And did you go to school for IT?
So I grew up in the Middle East. I'm originally from India. I grew up in the Middle East, lived some time here in Texas, Arkansas, and I'm down here in Florida. I did go to school for IT. I went to Southern Arkansas University, and I did my bachelor's and I did my master's in IT. So I have about 6-7 years in the education of technology.
Wow.
I've always known that this is something I wanted to do, and that's where I started out, getting an education. But most of my education has been on the job, I have to be honest. And I've been educated by people who went to school and didn't go to school. And I share that because everybody feels like to have a career in IT, you have to go to school for it. And that's really not the case. We all make our path forward. Some people go to school, some don't. Some learn through experience. And so it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, thank you for saying that, because I do agree with you. I believe it's good to hear that this is something you always want to do. Also, it's different paths to that seat, right? Like you're right. Like there's some folks. I met some gentleman we hosted, and he told me he went to art school. Like he was like, but it just found him, right? And he just wound up loving it. Started just stacking on it. So after school, after you got your master's and all that, what was your first IT job?
Oh gosh, my first IT job was tech support.
Okay. Help desk, like help desk-ish or app support?
Yes, help desk, app support, and I did do some technical support as well. And if you recall, Cesar, those were the days when we had the big desktop towers underneath the computers. They used to weigh about, 10 to 12 pounds, and you would go on people's desks, and it was all so dusty and dirty. That was not a fun time in my career, but I assure you, I made some of the deepest relationships in that role because what I learned is when people come on board to a company and when they leave the company is when they really want to talk to people. Especially leaving, right? Back in the days, it's not like you remotely disconnected people. You actually went, picked up their computer, you terminated them, collected the information. And I often spent a lot of time with people in the most vulnerable time of their career. And we ended up becoming really good friends. Now, this was also a time when we did not have LinkedIn and we did not have Facebook, and we just, exchanged mobile numbers or emails, and I
Emails.
managed to
Mhm.
keep in touch with them. So that was a fun job for me from that aspect.
So right at school, you were running tickets, support,
Yes.
side support, rollouts, I imagine. So I love it. I love it. Usually you hear, I hear like, especially women in IT, right? You don't
Hmm.
typically don't, let's say at least my time, right? You don't hear a lot of starting on the infrastructure side. You always start at, let's say, coding, developing, app support. But it's interesting. I didn't expect that one. So you were like, because I used to do a lot of migrations and desktop rollouts and all that stuff, and climbing on the desk because we'd win projects, but I'd like to kind of at least show my face to do it with them, right?
Right. Hmm.
And do that stuff. But I wind up probably causing more harm than good. But I was just there for support. I bring the donuts, and that was my role, right? But interesting because where you're at now, and I see how much you accomplish, and you're like the fact that you were, doing desktop support and taking care of users, like you said, climbing under some desks, connecting some things, and where you're at today is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see, and it shows like this past, right? So let me ask you, from that, take me a little bit through like what was your first, if you maybe skip a chapter, how do you get into management from there, from that desktop support role?
Right. So, after desktop support, I've done so many things, Caesar. I've done reports development, database administration, software development. My early phase of my career was never necessarily, people often ask me, what was your path to the CIO? And
Yeah.
quite honestly, there was no path for me.
No.
I just took opportunities as it came on. Often people would ask me, well, what is your focus? Do you want to be in infrastructure? Do you want to be in software development? Do you want to do something else? And for me, it was never about a path. It was just about what can I learn? How can I progress? How can I help others?
Mm.
And so from software desktop support, I moved on to app dev, to reports, development, and then into project management, business analysis. I really want to say I've kind of done it all. The only one facet I never did or entered into was networking and the network
Okay.
things.
Switching all that.
Yes, that was never my thing. But from there on, in all those roles, I've always worked very closely with the business, translating technical and business and vice versa. And
Oh,
even long before I was a CIO, there was a position that officially said this is what alignment and technology and business alignment is. I was always doing that in my career. And so I
mm.
just felt like over a period of time, as it progressed, gradually everything just kind of leaned into a CIO path.
So the past. So when did you get tapped on the shoulder for the first time? When did you become and who did you were a CIO for the first time?
Oh, I love it. So the first time I was a CIO was for a company called Trajector. And it's a company that helps veterans.
Mm.
Yes, and it was for me, honestly, I kind of gravitated to that role because it was just very meaningful work. When you hear about the challenges that veterans go to, and they want to help themselves, but sometimes they're not in the position to help themselves, and that's really what gravitated me over there.
Wow.
But I
That's
have to
good stuff.
say, that was the first time I got the title. I have to say, the first time I actually got a CIO role was when I wasn't even a CIO. And it's when my CIO tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Vedette, I need you to go and I'm going to move you out of IT into marketing. And if you're a true IT person, you're
Mhm.
going to flounder because none of us want to sit in marketing. It's left right brain, right? I love marketing, but it's a totally different environment. And for me, that was kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do in marketing, but that was when social media was still coming about, Facebook and Sprout Social. And he really wanted me to go out, understand the marketing function, and stand up all their systems for them.
Mm.
And I said, of course, sounds great. Went and I actually started marketing and helped them, set up their marketing technology
Oh,
stack. And I did that for about 2 years. And little did I realize that that was my first CIO role. Didn't have the title, but that's how it all started. And
totally.
At the time, I was actually quite upset to be moved into marketing because in my small, immature mind, I felt like I was given the project that nobody wanted. But in
Oh,
hindsight, in hindsight, I really learned how to work with the business and look at technology from a different lens and also work with a different audience altogether. That is
solid.
perhaps less structured than the IT way of life.
Oh, marketing for sure. Because I one of my favorite projects to do. I love marketing projects. My daughter's in marketing and has all that. But absolutely, it's creatives. They're like
Yes.
free, like they just urgent. It's just you're right, less structure and it's more about creativity, right?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
just, hey, let's just get it done, right? But you
Right.
were that liaison,
Yes.
understanding what they need. And you mentioned that skill set, but you're right. I like that. So you were basically doing that job just without the title. So you mentioned something about that you may have thought the perception was you may have thought that this is a job that maybe nobody wanted. I looked at it,
Yes.
maybe he tapped you on the shoulder more of this is he presented because he thinks you're the only one that can handle it.
You're right. You're right. Now, as a more mature person, and I look back, and perhaps there was some element to it. But when you're in the situation, and you're perhaps your younger self, you're like, what did I do to deserve this? Why do I get booted out of IT into marketing? Right.
Like, "Okay, I have a master's. What are you doing to me? Why are you taking me this way?" Right?
Right.
Right?
Right. That is kind of like my linear thinking of, you come in as a software developer and you expect to progress up the chain and you hope that you're at a CIO level, but that's absolutely not how it happened for me. At one point in my career, like I just shared, I was actually sitting in marketing. Who knew? But I did learn a lot from that. And perhaps most of my leadership skills, I would say, that is when I really started on the CIO track, just aligning technology and IT and getting people with from opposite sides of the brain to work together.
Wow. I love this to keep mentioning alignment because that's going to tie in nicely because that's all everybody is talking about, right?
Mhm.
It's all about like because that's what I feel like CIO's job is that alignment, making sure people, right, we're aligned on. And I don't want to take your thunder, but like I'm going to wait. I'm going to let you knock that one out, but we'll get to that one. But I know what you're talking about from a liaison and those skill sets that you were learning there and practicing. I guarantee, like you mentioned right now, have benefited you till today. It's
Oh,
the foundational of a CIO, right? And so it's pretty good. So, would you consider him as along your career like a mentor that caused that opportunity?
yes, absolutely. My mentor, first person to tap me on the shoulder and push me out of the boundaries that I had myself operating in totally moved me out of my comfort zone, and I'm forever grateful for this person in my life, Caesar.
That's good.
And I wish when I was younger and that happened, I recognized what had happened and the opportunity I was given. Um, because after that, shortly we did have a falling out. I wouldn't say a falling out. I just, explained to him I did not understand this transition, but then 20 years later, we reconnected, and I thanked him sincerely for that opportunity because it
Oh,
really did pave me for my next role.
we got it. You don't have to share, but like shout out to him seriously because I love that. I love that, and I respect that you went back and you called him out on that. That's pretty good stuff. And he appreciated it because that means that because he probably had the best intention, and it would mean a lot for somebody to say something like that to me later on. Like I could imagine somebody like a younger, you see something in them, and but they may not see. They look at it differently, and they come back to you and say, "Vidette, you you're the reason." Like I would probably choke up a little bit.
I wasn't planning to talk about that, but truly, I really reached out to him many, many years later. This is now further on in my career. I have my daughter. I'm coaching my daughter, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. And when I got my first CIO role, I'm like, I gotta give him a call, and his name is Craig. And I gave Craig a call, and he said, we caught up, we talked about our kids, and I said, Craig, I have this opportunity in front of me today, and I just really want to say thank you. Um,
Damn.
I I haven't called you for a very long time. I've not done a very good job keeping in touch. but I recognize now what I didn't then. So thank you for that. And after that first call, I started keeping in touch with Craig on a very regular basis, just keeping him updated on my career. By now, he's retired, of course, he was retired, and just keeping him updated on my career. And then I got a new mentor out of that in my later stage as a CIO, where
Oh,
I would call him, and sometimes I would just talk about decisions I'm trying to make or career paths. And it was really nice. I will share, he's no longer with us,
oh,
but
sorry to hear that.
and yeah, no, but I was really, really fortunate to have that person in my life.
That's huge. Well, thanks for sharing that because that
Yeah.
message is huge. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's people that listening that they have somebody like that, and that meant a lot. I respect that so much. You have no idea. That's pretty cool. So, what would you tell? One of the things that you would tell yourself, let's say 20 plus years ago, everything that you know now, what would you tell yourself? Like, you had to talk to Vedette 20 years ago. What would you say?
Mhm. Yeah, love that question. So many lessons learned, so many people have helped me on this journey. I would say, looking at my younger self, we all focus on being the technical expert, which we should at that point in our career. But I think my advice to myself would be continue to learn the technical skills and be the subject matter expert, but also try to learn judgment, sound judgment. And what I mean by that is when I was younger, I always wanted to be the person with the right answer in the room, right? But as time passes, you realize that technologies change. The technologies that I worked with are barely around anymore. I was talking to someone the other day and they said ASP.NET. And I'm like, oh, you know what ASP.NET is? I'm like, oh, yes. So it comes and goes. So many technologies have. But the
Mhm.
one thing that changes the same is the ability to recognize exercising good judgment, right?
100%. Um,
And, you are in technology, the technology is changing. You have to understand what is the business problem you're solving. You have to understand what are the trade offs of a technology. Sometimes you have to make answers without the incomplete information. You make the best decision that you can, right?
that's
In the effort of moving the business forward. And that is a skill that's everlasting, evergreen, and enduring. And if you can do that and practice that, that is more important than actually being the technical expert. And that kind of shifts our focus from being the subject matter expert in the room to being the advisor in the room. And I wish I had realized that in my younger years because we're so fixated on being right and having the right answer technically, but that
true.
it's really not what that is all about, right? And then the other thing I really wished I had given myself was the permission to take on leadership without waiting. And just like I shared,
Oh,
I had someone tap me on my shoulder and say, I'm giving you this project, let's go. But I wish I had taken on that initiative. And what I mean by that is you don't need the title to be a leader, right? Um, Being a leader is about how you show up, taking ownership of the work you're doing. Most importantly, dealing with the setbacks and working through the setbacks and demonstrating your best face during a setback,
wow.
supporting the people around you, supporting your team. Those are all leadership qualities. And honestly, you can exercise, and the best way to get into a leadership role is exercising those qualities way before you ever get the title.
I couldn't
That,
agree.
that I wish I had learned earlier.
That was a good. I mean, that's gonna my marketing teams they're gonna love this. I like got a couple quotes there. I wrote down some notes there. You don't need a title to be a leader. I couldn't agree with you more. Like it's funny. I grew up in a culture where they said, well, whatever role, like if you want to get bumped up, well, you got to do that job from that current chair.
You're right.
You know, and so it's a little similar. But I do agree. Like, why do you wait? Why not get started now? Like, why don't you know? So it's interesting. So let me ask you. So you think like on how we came up? Like we're probably in the same time frame, right? I'm around when Novell was around, so I don't know. I don't know if you know about Novell.
Yes, I
You do
do.
about
I do.
So, so if you look at that time compared to what it is today, what would you say, some of the kind of like some of the practice, are they completely new practices for IT leadership in the business, or are they fundamentally the same?
That's a great question. I would say a little bit of both. And here's what I mean. I think fundamentally, mostly it is the same. Everything that I've learned in my college years, in my younger career, I carry through to today. The
Okay.
only thing that has shifted for me is the concept of decentralized IT. And what I mean by that
Hmm.
is, you know, IT used to be its function or its department, and that's no longer the case because every function is driven by IT. And so you have very technical users and very technical people in all facets of the business, right? And so the traditional IT as we knew it about 20 years ago is now kind of dispersed and disseminated within the business, right?
Uh,
So, and that's what I mean by decentralized. You have a lot more technical people all across the organization, and you kind of have to bring it together and you have to influence and you have to lead people who don't necessarily report into you. And so
Okay.
that is becoming more and more the case
Mhm.
as I see IT has shifted over the last 20 years.
That's good. Thanks for sharing. That was good. That was really good. I love that. So I was going to go to our little trusted questions, right? Because there's a couple there that I definitely don't want to miss, right? Because sometimes you got to figure me. I like to freestyle based on what I hear, and
Yes.
and you're doing it. You're a pro. You're great on your feet. This,
Freestyling is the fun part.
so let's say, oh, I like this. This is going to be a good one for you. So like leadership style, right, and company fit can make or break a CIO success,
Hmm.
right? You know, what do you think? I guess it all works different for different environments, but let's talk about. Not saying this is you or anybody, but like that first time you're in that role, like imposter syndrome. Like, hey man, this is a lot going on here. Help me kind of dig into that. It's kind of like two questions. Like,
Yeah.
has the do you have to change your leadership style for a company, or you are who you are. You are they're hired you for a reason.
Right. No, I love that question because I've been in that situation, right?
Mm,
Especially when you're younger in your career, right? You have to take the opportunity that comes your ways. You don't necessarily sometimes you can't choice. Have a choice. You just take the opportunity, right? Because you want to
sure.
build a skill. But company fit, I do believe, is very important. I have found myself in companies that are great companies to work for, but the fit wasn't there, right?
Okay.
I once, many, many years ago, worked for a company that was very lucrative. Um, Great team, but it just did not wake me up in the morning, right?
Uh,
And what I've learned about myself is I like companies with purpose,
mhm,
companies that have an impact on people, whether it's their health, whether it's their wellness, whether it's their being. But if I'm just going to give you an example. If I had to work for a construction company, for example, I likely would not wake up to that with the same level of calling that I have in
sure.
the health and wellness, right? And so you kind of got to find what company really brings out the best in you and what you can wake up to. Culture is
Good.
very important, I think, especially in your formative years of leadership, because you are exercising different types of leadership styles to figure out what really works for you. But
Mhm.
once you know who you are, I feel that you can adapt. You don't have to be fake, but you do have to adapt, right?
Abs-
And
that.
there's this concept of situational leadership, right? If
Mhm.
you approach every situation with the same type of leadership skill, that's not leadership because you do have to change, whether it's the person in front of you. Some people respond very well, some people don't to different stimuli. And so you have to situationally be aware, and I don't consider that being fake, Caesar. I consider that a person with a very high EQ who knows how to adapt to different situations.
I'm high fiving you so much right now because I'm with you on that. It's not. You know, I think EQ is like I think the most successful have the right balance of
Right.
a little bit of both, but EQ tends to like kind of like I would say holds more stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're really spending more time with. people because you're not really
Right.
coding anymore, right? So that's a good question. I'm glad you answered that because now you're making me think a lot. What would you say? Because I'm gonna like this one for a second. What's your two questions? What's your favorite thing about being a CIO? Right, your very
Mhm.
favorite, probably. And what are the two most challenging things about CIO?
Oh, I love that. So my favorite part about being a CIO is actually working with people and leading my team. And when I say leading my team, I'm not talking just technically. I have people come to me, Caesar, with problems with about their kids, problem with their families, career challenges, whatever have you. It's
Yeah.
just being able to take someone and see them as whole and help them see a path forward to whatever it is. I really like that aspect, that coaching and mentoring. And in my little way, it's my way of giving back or paying it forward, right?
Ooh, I like that.
I do love that aspect. Um, the other thing I love about being a CIO is the technology too and how it solves business problems, right?
Of course.
Um, I actually enjoy technology. I love what I do. Um, and I love not knowing the answer to something. So if
I haven't
someone,
heard that one yet. That's a
yeah,
good one. You don't, you enjoy not knowing what to do?
I enjoy not knowing what the answer to a problem
Answers. Okay.
is. Yeah. I
I love
love enjoying what not, and what I mean by that is when someone comes to me and they're like, "Hey, we have this problem, and can we do this in technology? And how are the companies solving this?" And I'm like, I don't know. I have to do a little research and get back to you. I love being in that situation, in that gray area, and then finding a solution to it
Yeah.
because I'm learning, I'm helping someone else, and hopefully I move the business forward too. But I don't want to be in a role where I have all the answers. That would be too boring for me.
I love it. I love that answer. I love that because you're also sending a message to your team, which is cool. Which like you're not. How can you know everything,
You
right?
cannot,
No.
especially in technology nowadays. Gone are the days when we applied a release and it was good for the next 30 days. Whatever you did yesterday is already obsolete tomorrow, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
Should AI?
yes, I
So
know.
they're like I think like all these platforms like are one up each other like every other week. It's
I
like
know.
it's like well, all right, now 5.2 came out with ChatGPT, and then Gemini last 3 weeks was awesome, and now it's like this is you just I don't know if it's ever going to stabilize or what. It's just they keep on iterating like every month.
I
So
agree.
that's
I agree.
interesting.
I just applied the Apple software today, right? The iOS update. And you know that you can screen your calls now. And I was
Um,
so happy. Yes, apparently you can screen your calls. It asks you once you do the update, do you want to screen your calls? And I'm like, yes, please screen all the spammers who call me.
okay, update
My
my phone
phone,
today.
yes, I love it. And so I bet you next week when I tell someone this story, they're going to be like, oh, that was last week.
Oh, you should see what it does now, right? It's crazy.
No, I know. That's
Wow.
where we. Mhm.
So I have to ask you this because this is like it wouldn't be an IT conversation or IT audience, right? So, oof, AI. Wow, we can talk a lot of different directions there, right?
Mhm.
Let's say pertain to, well, what's your perspective on AI? Like, if you have your leadership asking you, I'm reading everything, where do we start with that? All I know is
Yeah,
that everybody's doing it, and I don't want to miss out. What do we do?
right,
Just let's say I'm a CEO telling you.
right. So it's interesting because there's so many AI applications right now.
Yeah,
The key is really understanding what's out there, what are people doing, and what if it applies to you, and what can you solve with it? That's the key. What can you solve in your business with AI?
of course.
Um, right now I'm paying attention to everything that companies are doing, roadmaps of platforms like some of the key platforms like Salesforce, D365. What are they really doing? What are they solving for businesses? How much does it cost? Right? Going through that. And then there's a lot of stuff like just in your environment when you're using Office that's kind of like part of your core products? What are you doing? There's a lot in automation, when you're looking at the workflows and what are people in your organization spending time doing manually. Can you
Sure.
use AI to kind of further that on? So those are the questions people really need to start looking at or asking themselves. It's not about how do I implement AI, it's what can I solve with it, right?
Like
And unfortunately, I feel like the word AI is being used around so much. There's so much noise. It's
there's a
actually
lot.
kind of harder right now to peel it back and say what is real AI and what is not, you know?
True. True.
Yeah. But people ask me this question. I think I'm actually excited. I see bad and good like every technology, right? There's bad happening and bad applications, and there's good applications.
So
And it's up to us to make the most of it.
wow, that's awesome. So what would you tell? Let's say the basics, like because let's say I'm see a startup company and I gotta leverage AI for that, and you're advising me, and what do you tell? Like, what's the playbook to where should I start?
With the startup company,
Yeah.
yeah. So I work with a lot of startups, interestingly so.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, and this is just something keeping in touch with people in my local community, right? Startups, I really believe it's kind of like when the internet started. You remember that phrase? I can't remember who coined it. That there'll be a lot of millionaires over the next few years because the internet's going to do this, this, and this, and this, right? Over the next few years and whatever have you. I believe AI is actually for startups. We're going to have millionaires like over the next few months,
Yeah.
because it's that easy to set up a business, right? Setting up a website is code free. Servicing customers, you have agents or agentic AI to do that now. Being able to do fulfillment, drop ship, whatever have you, all of that can be run with agentic force. And I think now my anybody who's thinking of a startup, this is quite an exciting time to actually get in. Um, the barrier in terms of expertise, but also money, is greatly reduced. And to me, it's exciting. What I'm actually really enjoying is watching our teenagers right now.
Okay.
They are, at least I see them very much engaged in AI and doing all these things. And they're actually talking about how do we make money and how do we launch websites. And it's just a different type of generation that I'm seeing. And it's interesting to see that young.
It's the expertise is younger and younger. I met one of my clients, a real close friend of mine. His son has been a paid developer since he was like 15,
Oh, wow.
like literally Java developer. I was like, holy crap. So now we're getting him to AI stuff. He's only like 21, but he has already how many years experience? Like 5 or 6 years experience.
Yeah,
So a kid that's
yes.
not even finished school yet. So it's just like, it's right. It's getting younger. I think also that things are more available these days, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And affordable. And it's just, and it, like you said, I feel like AI is like level the playing field for companies. Like you could, if you're small, you could punch above your weight class a little bit. Like,
I agree.
and it make so that's the thing that I love. I love the fact that it allows you to pivot, ideate. I mean, and again, compete. Like, if you want to separate yourself from everybody, lean in AI. In your domain, you should do. I think the
Love
only
that.
limitation is creativity, and then obviously security, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So talk to me about because as fast as we innovate, security that scares the shit out. Excuse me, the crap out of me, right?
Yes. So, on the flip side, that's a bad application of AI right there, right? We're seeing AI come into the cybersecurity space full steam.
It's like
And
stronger now, right? Like
yes,
it's stronger. It's like crazy.
right. And you asked me, Caesar, what are the two things that I don't like about being a CIO? And maybe I'll answer that now. One is cybersecurity, right? Um, it has never been more stressful of a space to kind of be in the cybersecurity space right now. I used
Oh,
to pray before I go to bed. Now I check my alerts on my security before I go to bed. That's where we are. Isn't
wow,
that sad? But
that's scary.
yes, and
Scary.
that's where the cybersecurity. I saw this article the other day where a cyber hack was initiated by an agent, executed and targeted and actually completed in a matter of milliseconds. And it wasn't even done or initiated by a human, by an agentic robot. That's where we are. So it keeps me up at night. Cybersecurity does. That is something I wish AI did not fall into or embolden more so, but that's where we are.
Sure.
And to be seen what comes out of that one.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like I'm hearing stuff you have to fight AI with AI. I mean, this is like, but again, you like one up each other. Like, these tools just make those bad actors 1,000%, like 100 million% stronger.
Absolutely.
And so it's almost like, how do you explain to the business? Like, 'cause sometimes like security is like one of these, well, there's a lot of articles, a lot of bad stuff out there. Data points you can show, but well, nothing happened to us yet. Like, but that's not a good security strategy, right? So, so let's not wait till like something happens. But how do you manage up? How do you communicate that when they may not see it? It may not happen to them yet. They may not get hit
Right.
yet, or they may not know how much is going on behind the scenes. How do you deal with that to your leadership?
Right. No, that's a great question because I think a lot of us CIOs have been there, right? Trying to secure funding for something
Yeah.
that no one wants to understand because it's too boring from their lens, right? One of the things that's kind of worked for me is kind of like collecting a lot of these articles on the web, right? Every time someone is getting hacked and how it got hacked, letting your business know. Did you know this happened? And playing back the article to people. This is why it's very important for us to do X, Y, and Z. And you do that constantly, and people do get a sense of the gravity around cybersecurity today. You know, when the AI simulated hack happened 2 weeks ago, I made sure I talked about it enough, so people learned about it because it is important. But I use the articles and the happening in the economies and the current events to kind of publicize the importance of being mindful of what we need to be doing.
Wow. That's yeah. That's a tough. I mean, it's scary. You're checking alerts right before you go to bed, and then hopefully they're not waking up in the middle of checking them. But like, it's
Well,
not an easy job you have.
it's cyber. It's not easy. Cybersecurity is a hard one. Like I literally have my SOC on. You know how Apple lets you bypass emergency at night? So I turn my phone off, but my sock is on bypass. And if it rings, it's either my parents, my family, or it's my cybersecurity sock
They're
telling me
coming through
something.
first.
But that's where
um,
we are, What are you going to do?
no,
Yes.
and at the same time, you know what it does too. I always look at this too because this is so much a vibe of like, because not everybody's buying in. Like even like I've learned that even a lot of developers or just in general IT practitioners, they're not into it or they don't want to or they have a different perspective on it. And I don't know yet to be said is like I potentially think it could be a mistake because I think this thing is for real. It's here. It's not going to go away. Um, but what do you feel like? How do we break that barrier? How do we get them to lean in? Because it could be so much more competitive for them. Like so much, like imagine you're already a strong, super developer, and imagine putting an Iron Man suit on that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do they? Is it education? Is it fear? Is it innovation? I mean, what would you share? How would you break that wall down for like let's say that traditional developer that may not want to? I don't want to do that. I'm old school. I'm gonna stay do what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm. In terms of security or just
Like AI in general. A lot of people don't want to accept it. Like they don't want to do it.
yeah. So it's funny because I was kind of in that seat about maybe a year and a half ago because the developers came to me and they said, Vidette, do we want to use AI in our development suite, right? And
Okay.
at that point that point of the journey, I hadn't seen enough use cases or people applying AI in the development process to say this really speeds us up, slow us down. What are the security trade-offs and things like that? What I will tell you is helping developers understand that we need to move the business and move it fast, right? We need to move the business, move it fast, but do it securely. Um, it's it's all in the conversation, right? And I think a lot of us are actually battling that right now. I can't say I'm 100% successful with it. yet. It's a constant conversation, right? Here's how you can use AI to do your job, right? And it's not intended to replace your job by any means, whether you're a developer, whether you're a project manager, whether you're a tester, it's not here to replace you. It's how do you use that to become more effective in your role? And there's two things that's going to happen because AI is here and it's here to stay. You're going to be able to use it and become more effective in your role, or you're going to get left back, right? And that's the reality of the situation.
That's so true. So that's I'm with you. I'm a little bullish on. I'm very bullish on it. I think they have to like lean in, or you're vulnerable. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna, you know, because it has to. I mean, even like down to entry level, whatever the role is. I just think a company soon. I think a requirement is AI literacy. I think they have to walk in the door, and it doesn't matter your role. I think you have to understand fundamentally how to at least learn from AI. May not be
Hmm.
a developer, or all that, or vibe coder, or whatever you want to call it, but you have to. It's such a it gets the company faster, competitive, faster,
Right.
right? And
Right.
actually, I love I always call my daughter on this. He likes to call her like a thought partner.
I like that. A thought
I was
partner.
like, that was a good one. But I was like,
Right.
I got it. I was like, you know what? That makes sense because, within your like, the traditional ways of reading and doing a bunch of stuff, like if it's a lot. It's a lot to keep up with. But AI is like summarized and it gives you like, and then you can lean in and dig deeper within whatever you want to versus kind of taking the whole thing. So there's so many advantages. I just feel like, and my message to everybody is like, I please, almost like lack of word begging is like lean in, just lean in. No matter your role, it's going to get you better at what you do. And if
Mhm.
you're going to do something, why not be the best at it? Like,
Absolutely. Well
so
said.
I'm with you on that. So, my God. So I got to ask you about a couple things about talent and people because I want
Yes.
to get to people 'cause I know that you're big on that. Um, can you share any, like, let's say, best practices on how do you attract talent? Like, how do you, when you first come into a job, like, how do you get the right people, assess and get the right people around you?
Hmm. Wow, that's a great question. Talent, especially tech talent, and you know this better than I have because you're in the industry. Tech talent is hard to find. There's tech talent, and then there's tech talent that's good for business, right? I mean, a big difference. And people who understand business and technology, that's even harder to find.
Very much.
Um, yeah, honestly, I've kind of started going back to, and now I've started going back to the old methods, the old school ways of finding talent, which is word of mouth.
Referral.
Because especially recently, I've noticed that, with AI, there's a lot of really attractive resumes, for that matter, even online interviews that go really well, but it doesn't translate in person. And I don't know if you're seeing the same.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think
Right.
referrals are like, that's the avenue to go.
Right. And so for me, it's been about picking up the phone and calling my trusted network and saying, do you know someone? Do you have someone? Have you worked with this person? What was your experience like? Right. And that conversation has become so much more important now with AI. Right. And
Oh my
it's funny
goodness.
because AI has moved us so many feet forward, but now when it comes to finding good talent, I find myself actually picking up the phone and connecting with people like in the olden days. And I say olden days, but uh, I'm
This
doing that more so now. But at the end of the day, I do believe that good talent follows you. As people lead people in leadership, especially when you're in senior leadership roles. And we have a small, tight knit community here in South Florida, I feel. Or maybe I've just been here too long. I don't know.
Oh, I think it's definitely small.
Yeah. But
Yes,
I
sir.
genuinely feel that good talent follows good leaders. And I've had situations where people will call and ask to be part of the team or
Oh,
ask about being on someone else's team. And I've even seen people who move from job to company, and their team actually follows them. And that's usually the best way, in my opinion, to have talent that goes with you. Be good, you'll
oh,
attract good.
I couldn't agree with you more. So, like, And I always like to ask this too because, like, I love the fact that you said referrals because that's it. You pick up the phone with the network and then you start reaching out. It's almost like it's almost unusual to have that, you know, because you're so used to electronic and you're so used to like receiving a LinkedIn or pick up the phone. I tell people all the time, you'd be shocked because nowadays it's like, I remember back in the day, like with email and all this stuff. And I would like to tell my sales team, won't you send them a little letter? Like who gets mail today? Like you almost like curious, like what I got mail? Like in the mailbox? Like really? So you open different. So if you call them up, especially at your level, it says a lot. And it puts the candidate in positions like, wow, I mean, that says a lot about who they are, right? Like
Right.
at that level to you to call somebody and try to see if they're potentially want to, come to the organization. Cause it's a big decision. It's a lot of trust in somebody making a decision to come over, you know?
Absolutely.
So I love referrals and, I like the old school feel about that. The old school. Old school still works, right?
It works. And I think it's actually picking back up now with AI.
100%. Now, as far as what do you think? How do you feel about like compensation these days? Because that's been a challenge, right? Because
Mhm.
you have these kids coming out of school, not all of them, but like
Mhm.
data shows that they're coming out with CS degrees, 6-figure salary demands, 77% of them not getting jobs. Like it's staggering. It's like it's shifted so fast in the last 18 months.
Mhm.
And, partly they're saying AI, but I argue that a little bit. I don't think, it's there 100% yet, but competition is real. I think maybe more nearshore has a factor with it or offshore, the way companies staff their companies. So maybe there's less permanent roles or those type of salaries. But what would you tell a kid out of school that's struggling to get in the door? Like but they want these requirements. They want 100,000. They want to be told what they've been told for the last 4 years of school. Hey, you're gonna make six figures. You're gonna do this.
Mhm.
You're gonna do that. Now they have a reality check. Like what would you share with them?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And my advice, because I've been there too, right? And of course, it wasn't as staggering as it is now. But I would say, if you get the figure that you're looking for out the door, great for you. Kudos. Keep going at it, right? But if you don't, take the opportunity and learn from it because you are going to be even more valuable with the experience.
100%.
And that's always my advice. And sometimes, there's been times in our careers and even in mine, Caesar, where I've taken an opportunity and financially perhaps it was a setback, you know,
Okay.
but I've taken the opportunity because I knew that step, even though financially might be a setback, down the road it would position me for even something bigger, right? And I've actually done
Smart.
that, and you've got to be willing to do that, especially if you really want to grow. You can't look at every job offer just from the financial measure. You got to look at it from what are the soft skills I'm going to be honing in? What are the technical skills? What is the global exposure? What is the footprint that I am supporting? You just can't look at it from one dimension and one dimension only. And
Agreed.
so I've actually done that. I've taken pay setbacks, and most people often said, "Wow, Vedette, I think you're crazy. Why would you do that? If you're unemployed and you did that, I understand. But why are you doing that now?" And, I've done it because I genuinely felt that 3 years in that role, I might not have the financial success, but I think I would be better positioned longer term.
Wow. You play chess, not checkers. I love it. Like that's smart. A lot of people don't talk about stuff like that. And I couldn't agree with you more though, because like it's maybe not about that temporary assignment or whatever it may be, but
Right.
shit, if you can gain that experience, I often talk about get the opportunity. Don't worry about the comp. Like get the
Right.
opportunity. And we all
I
got to
know.
pay our bills. I get it, right? But
Yeah.
if you can make it work, make it work. Because you're right. 2 years from now, or within the organization, when they figure out who you are, they start tapping you on the shoulder. You're like, whoa! Now you're like maybe doubling, or who knows what you bring to the table. That's
Right.
very good.
I
So,
love that
what do you
that you
been
just.
about? What do you been about remote and on-site?
Yeah, that's a great one because we've missed out on talent
Oh, really?
because
Yeah.
we are a hybrid workforce, right, at HairClub. And we've missed out on talent not joining us because they wanted to be 100% remote, right? Is there advantages to it? Absolutely yes. Would I like to be 100% remote? Absolutely yes. But I will tell you this. If you're on the leadership track, especially, there is an advantage to being hybrid or in person because I do feel like softer skills are hard to train over video, right?
100%.
Dealing with difficult customers, demanding situations, quelling the noise and confusion when a release goes bad, right? There is so much strength and gravity when you have people in a room and you can quell that, right?
Oh,
And that's what to do over camera. And those are the leadership skills that you have to learn from others. You have to watch others demonstrate if you don't have them. And that is much easier to do in person. I actually read an article where they said that the new generation that is coming into the workforce, they might be getting the job done. But are they actually increasing their potential to leadership opportunity? That is in a much slower pace right now. And so I do believe that, when you come into the workforce, people are paying it forward to you and you get the opportunity to pay it forward to others.
oh, oh man, they're gonna love this. I love that one. I
So
wish
I do,
one of my
yeah,
CIO friends that he asked him a similar question. It resonated with me a lot. Was like, he said, "You got to be present."
you got to be present. I agree.
Like, it's
Yes.
hard to learn remotely as it is. What about this, Vidette? What about those conversations that you know how you passing through, and you're like, "Oh, wait," and you hear, we got to wrap," and all of a sudden, like you're in a room and you're like whiteboarding, like that wouldn't happen remote, 100% remote. I just feel like that missed opportunity, collaboration goes a little down. As much as these tools are, I don't know. Maybe it's just the old school, but I feel like you got to have face to face time.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Absolutely. It's such a different level, so deeper and rich in connection, right? The relationship is so much richer when there's people in front of you that you can touch and laugh and hear the laughter. Not that you can't do it on the screen, but it's
Yep.
it's totally different in person.
100, 100. Oh my God, this is fun. This is fun. You're making me kind of think of like, you also give me a lot of ideas that I want to throw on Monday. I was like, I can't wait till Q1 starts. Like, yes, I can. So, wow. Well, look, as we wrap up, right, let me ask you this. I love being this blunt about it. So if you today, you dedicated your time, you shared so many wonderful things. You got a lot of great quotes here, a lot of nuggets, I call. Um, how would you want a community like you leaving here the podcast today? How do you want them to think of like the debt? Like, what do you want to give back to say, um, our community listeners? Like, what would
Hmm.
that one mic drop?
Right. I would say, don't worry. And this is coming from someone who made all the plans, and perhaps all my plans fell apart in my journey.
She made all the
Um,
plans. I love.
and they all fell apart. I cannot say I've successfully executed on anything that I planned for, but that's okay. That is
That's
part of the journey. It will happen. It happens eventually. There's things that you're not going to understand, whether it's a career setback, whether it's a pay cut, whatever that is, a project you don't want to work on, or in my case, getting booted into marketing and wondering why did this happen to me, which ended up being a really good thing. Those are
that's
all the unplanned events, but learn from them, move forward. And in the big picture of things, this is just one of those small chapters in the entire book that you're reading. And at the end of the day, as long as you make it to the final page in that book, whenever that may be, it will happen. Just stick to it.
wow. Well said. The final page of the book. High five. Well, you guys heard it here. So let me ask you. So just for our listeners, what's the best way to contact you? Like send you an emails, questions, or anything like that.
I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request. Always happy to connect with people. And
Absolutely.
yes.
Because the perception, like it's all, the CIO, is so it's held at, obviously a real, it's a difficult role, one of the hardest roles out there. But it's also like, oh, they're really connecting. The fact that you're willing to connect with people, it says a lot about here. You never know. And you can get back, it pays over like 1,000% over all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love connecting with people. Happy to help people where I can.
Well, you're super sharp. I'm telling you right now. And I just can't wait to see what you're doing today and whatever the next tap on the shoulder may be, you're going to crush. I think you'll be a phenomenal leader for any organization.
Thank you, Cesar. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me today. I
Yep.
really enjoyed, this felt more like a conversation for me. The only part that's missing is the wine glass on both our ends. But
we got
maybe
to
next,
we got to get on the calendar for that, right? And we got
that's
to
an
bring Rick.
right?
So absolutely, thank you so much for your time. And I know you're getting ready to go on, I think, vacation soon.
That's true.
You enjoy yourself with your family and all that.
You as well. You as well. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your holiday season.